up above in the nest, you will see a few things that I'm sharing. Tomorrow, Film 3 Space with Chris Hackett. We're talking about platforms and the creatives that use them. An important discussion. Additionally, my pre-order for this month's ebook audiobook pairing has gone live. It is up on Amazon. Predict that Audible should go live on Monday when the ebook goes live as well. Pre-sales are open now if you are so interested. Additionally, the last session of writing, publishing, and authorship is also up on all of your favorite podcast platforms if you'd like to listen back to the previous session. This month, I have started doing daily facts again. So those are little composites of video clips made with AI from historical imagery and my own photography brought to life. It's kind of cool. Lastly, hoping to have some additional news about the Anunnaki piece that I released in the middle of last month. As it is right now, if you haven't watched it, it's up on YouTube. The link is available above. And, would love to hear your feedback on it and see if I'm doing anything right. Puppy, yeah, I think you were saying that you weren't seeing something. I'm still not seeing that account. No big deal. We can make it work. That's not even a critical aspect of what is going on here today. Either way, Danielle, if you would like to talk, grab a mic. Looks like you might be new to the space. I haven't seen you before, but we talk about books. We talk about writing. We talk about publishing, being an author, production, all sorts of different stuff you're welcome to promote as well. So how is everybody? It's been 2 weeks. We do this every 2 weeks. And, first out of the gate, Ricky, I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, Michael, it's good to be back. A couple weeks ago, I got a bad flu, and it was trying to kill me.
We don't want that.
Well, no, not. I mean, I don't know that anybody does per se, but
your fan club, do not want that. Let's be more specific.
That's much more laser guided. Yes, thank you. So, it was a bad flu. It ended up climbing into my heart, and I went into AFib. So my cardiologist was like, just go to the ER, man. So I went, and I was in the hospital for a couple days, and they gave me flu meds, and it went back into a sinus rhythm, like the irregularity corrected itself. And, I was out of it for like a week, like picking up the pieces, and because the flu was stubborn, but I'm back now. So
excellent. How are you feeling?
Better, certainly better than I was. I'm still not 100%, but I'd say I'm like 90 to 95% better. And back to writing, which is always a sign that things are going well.
Critical for you, right? That's like lifeblood.
Heck yeah, man. I'm almost done with my latest project. I just got a couple thousand more words, and I'll have another 50K novel. This one's about like politics a little bit, politics and theology and various things. That's the one I was telling you about a couple weeks ago. I almost got that wrapped up. And yesterday we had a great prototype for an X space and a podcast. We're doing a reading of poesy on an open mic with some venerable poets that I know. And hopefully we're going to do another one tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Very cool.
Yeah, so send anybody my way who you think would enjoy, including yourself, Michael. You're always welcome to that.
We'll post it up in the Cabal so that we can share that stuff out when you schedule it, That way we know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll drop something now. I just did a tweet on it before I got in here.
Perfect.
but I'll drop another one. And thank you for that. How have you been, man? It sounds sounds like things are going well.
I am trying to rip,
Absolutely.
I am already in production for next month's audiobook. That one will only be audiobook. It will not have an ebook. It is a reading of a story from an author that I like. I'm not going to talk too much about that right now because it's, I'm coming up on this new one first. I got to get there first. I got to get to the March release. Then we can start paying attention to April. But trying to round third base on my short story that I've been working on, and been getting very usable feedback, and plan to do the audiobook reading on that in the second half of this month. The ebook should come out in April. I think I can get it done. I've already started working on the cover design, and typically I do the audiobook reading before I release the ebook, and then that gives me a little bit of leeway to do production on the audiobook in the follow-up month to make it for release. So that's some of the stuff that I've got going on right now. I'm also reproducing an animated short from last year that I did with the updated technology, just to kind of showcase, how far we've come in a year with AI video. So that's, the gist of things.
It's fantastic. There's never any lack of inspiration from your end, Michael, with the amount of dynamic volume of material and whatnot. Like it's always very, very impressive. I'm glad to see that hasn't stopped in any way,
I can't stop, they won't let me. Danielle, you got your hand raised. This is the first time you've hung out. This is the space we do every 2 weeks. We come up, we chat, we update each other. Sometimes we ask questions even. What do you have going on? What are you doing? Tell us about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? What is your zip code?
Okay. Sequence of numbers. Are you going to ask me my age? Don't do that. That's not polite. I don't tell you my age or my weight. But no, I'm only kidding.
29.
No, I could care less. No, I'm not 29. So what grabbed my attention, and I'm like multitasking. I'm relatively new to X, right? And I'm very new to Spaces. I would say I discovered it maybe 8 weeks ago. So there
Welcome.
goes the distraction of the century, right? I mean, because there is so much happening in these community conversations, and there's a couple of them that I am very active and loyal to. But so the phone's here, and I'm busy working on something, and I look and I see writing, publishing, and authorship. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just listen to this, okay? And then I see it's a very small space, so I will let you know who I am. I live in Southern California in Newport Beach. I am from the East Coast, so that's the accent you would probably detect.
Sure.
Specifically from New Jersey. I am just about to launch my first book. So this whole process is new to me. And when you mentioned Audible, I'm an Audible girly. Like I don't want to collect any more books. I love touching a book. I really, really do. But how many books are you going to have on your shelves, right?
Sure.
And we're always in motion. So I like to listen to books, to revisit them. So when I wrote this book, one of the things I thought I would do is put it up on Audible. And after having a in-depth conversation with a company that does produce those, the prep work around that, as you probably well know, Michael, is pretty intense, right? They said to me, well, your book's going to come in at 7 hours. And so
Sure.
we will record you in 2-hour buckets, and you will ideally practice 2, better yet 3 times. So you will record for 6 hours on your own, and then you will do it for us. And so I looked at my calendar and I was like, I don't think I have the bandwidth right now with what's going on in my life to do that. So I'm literally just going to put that on hold. I just got off on a conversation with them as a follow-up, so it's kind of timely. The whole book publishing, self-publishing process is new to me.
Are you
And
self-publishing, or are you working with a publisher?
No, I'm self-publishing. I decided in September that I was going to write a book to formally explain why I was known as the WTF lady. I left corporate America about a year ago, and I've been in the commercial title real estate space for, I don't know, 25 years. I still do that on the side in New York. I work for a company in New York, but I come out as the WTF lady, which was originated from my podcast.
What's WTF stand for?
The WTF, it's legally trademarked to mean women that flourish. And what happened was I started a podcast a couple years ago. I did probably maybe 62, 63 episodes. And I just did it for shits and giggles. I didn't do it with a business plan. It was just I'm in corporate America, flying around the country, selling title insurance to real estate developers. And on the side, I am interviewing women and talking to them about like the trajectory of their life, the things that the unscripted pivots that have happened. And it was just for fun. But I wanted to talk to them about their WTF moments. But being tied to corporate America, I didn't feel very comfortable, just blaring out, "Hey, what the fuck happened?" That it was never going to be like that. So I thought, what kind of WTF? What's the acronym that I could use? So Women That Flourish came to mind. And from there, it spun out into a whole WTF like coaching brand.
Crushing it, really.
Yeah. So this book that's coming out, and my God, I hope it comes out this month, is all around WTF. And because a lot of my clients are male clients, as it turns out, I am now like when I'm doing presentations, I'm saying, it says women that flourish, but there's a man in every woman right now. I mean, that sounds a little spicy and it is, but when you look at the word woman, there's man, the actual word is in there. But the titles within the book, it starts out with what's the framework. And what I really do is I lead like the WTF moment is not what defines us. It's the pivot that follows. You can pivot or you can have a state of paralysis. And so it's all about embodying resilience and things along those lines. Worth the fear, when transition fuels, wake that flame, who to follow, work toward fulfillment. It's WTF, like WTF up the wazoo.
Yeah, playing to the acronym heavily, I would say.
Playing heavily to it. So, and from there, I decided the executive coaching I had been doing for the company I was doing sales for, they had hired me for that as well. Now that's on the front burner. So I wrote this book just as a testament and a business tool. I thought, okay, let's write this thing and just self-publish. I'll figure out I'll go on Fiverr, somebody will proofread and we'll get it going. And with that, somebody, after I was done, said, you should have somebody, if you're using this as a business tool and you're so type A, which I am, go have it checked out. And so I did. I paid a guy to read it that objectively doesn't know me from Adam. And from there started a whole bunch. It opened up my eyes, opened up my world. And so I'm in the throes of that. So to give you an idea, the PDF is done. Now we're in second round of edits. And so once I do the PDF, Michael, as you know, it's formatted. So but after the second round of proofreading, I hired another proofreader to take a look at it. And there was 351 changes.
Not bad, really.
So when she gets done with that, because I added a few things that, you have enough time to sit on it, your vision becomes even more clear. Right. I mean, you could perfect this all the way until 2027. But we changed some things and I'm hoping that it goes up. My understanding is that the ebook would come out before the hard copy would come out.
Not necessarily. Take a breath for a second. You're just a barrage.
Because I'm multitasking. I shouldn't even be on here.
I feel you. That's okay. That's all right. You're welcome to multitask. I'm happy to hear you're self-publishing, and I'm happy to hear that you're sorting it out, and also that you're doing an audiobook because, for me, audiobooks sell 2 to 1. I do all of my audiobook production, both the recording and editing and, uploading and all the rest. So it is a process. None of my books are 7 hours long. I'm doing shorter stuff. This year I'm tasking myself with putting out 1 audiobook a month. But again, these are kind of bite-sized releases, not necessarily full meals. So what I would say, if you're going to go work with a studio, and the cost can be relatively high depending, it might be in your interest as a type A person to learn some of those skills for yourself. You can almost certainly, I don't know what kind of computer you have, but you can get all of the hardware, such as a microphone, the stands, the cable, the interface and everything for a few $100s. And if you have a Mac, you can record right on GarageBand, which comes with all Macs, and you can do all of the production right on there. And, I have never had an audiobook rejected. so far. And that's, everything that I use. So, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you maybe a different angle on it. If they're telling you, look, you're going to need to record this thing on your own 2 or 3 times. To me, when I'm doing a reading, I might read a line 2 or 3 times before I get the version that I'm happy with, or you flub it or whatever. So inside of that, sometimes you'll even discover that you want to give yourself some options in terms of like when you're editing, how you want to present that line. Or sometimes you'll discover in editing that one part of a line works well with another part of the line that you recorded. And you kind of stitch those together and make that the final version of the line. But you only have that if you've, done all of that recording and just keep everything. So that's just, a little bit of feedback on that process from me. And like, again, I'm not the only person out here doing those. So take what I'm saying as just an additional perspective on it. But you can learn how to do all that stuff. It's not impossible. I learned how to do it, and the tools are all there.
You can, but it's almost like just because you can, should you? I don't really have an interest. I spent all of last year doing a lot of things for myself, because when I left the corporate world and left that very large corporate paycheck and realized, wow, now what I earn is going to be all attached to me when I'm growing here. That's kind of daunting, right? So, but I, buckled up and I did it. And at this point, it is really impacting my ability to grow my coaching business. And now I'm out there and I'm coaching and I'm pitching, I'm selling, I'm presenting, I'm being paid to speak. I can't do that. But I misspoke, Michael. They weren't saying I had to record it. They said I had to read it. So they didn't ask me to do that. And I have the majority of the equipment. I work on a Mac, and I have, really good microphone, because again, I was podcasting for a year and a half. So I'm familiar and I'm comfortable with it. I love Audible. I am not doing Audible right now. So what I said is that's going to be on hold, because I'm in the middle of writing a second book. The first book launched a second book. This became like a little bit unyieldy, but
That's
it makes
awesome.
sense from a career perspective for me to do this. So yeah. And then to your point with the ebook thing, there will be a series of very short, punchy WTF books. I've already had like literally 20 planned in my head. I don't want those to run more than like 45, 50 pages. Right. They'll be very specific, and there'll be a WTF acronym. So we'll see, where the universe delivers me. But right now I'm in the throes of learning, growing. And when I saw your space, and I'm so glad to come on here, I was like, okay, these are the people I need to know. So I thank you for all the wisdom you're about to spew forth. And the other 2 people here, hello. I hope you feel better, Mr. Time, whatever you are. You're Mr. Timeless Productions, or Mount. No, you're not Mr. You're Mount. That's a lousy flu in the hospital, is no joke. So I'll be quiet, and I'm here to just absorb. And thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak.
Yeah, all good. We do this every 2 weeks. I host another space on Tuesdays with Heidi. So we co-host that one. We do a monthly workshop. That's what next week will be. That's during the daytime, midday. Your Pacific time, right? So I think it's 9 a.m. for you. So uploading to Audible is the easiest part of the audiobook production and release aspect. The recording and editing, the recording is relatively easy. The editing is the arduous part. I don't love editing, but at the same time, you can't just pick the ingredients and then serve the plate. You got to be in the kitchen for it. So that's just the nature of it. If you do work with a studio, you have an engineer, you might even have another person kind of reading along with you, pointing things out. They don't necessarily have to be a producer, but they could be a producer. And then, you get a little bit of additional kind of perspective on things, or they try to draw something out of you. If you're doing it on your own, you have only yourself to blame. But yeah, either way, don't get me wrong. Like use a studio, an engineer, producer, if possible, as a way to kind of like speed up that production, because then, they're going to handle all that stuff. And there is one caveat. I will tell you this. A friend of mine did the same thing, And ultimately the files that they gave him were not upload ready. So we had to do a little bit of editing. So, that's not a huge process. It's not necessarily, an impetus to getting it released. It's just that to me, like, given how much he paid to do the studio recording session, like, I feel that they should have that 100% dialed in, and there are ways to test that, but that's whatever. Yeah, I love the fact that you are working on a series of releases and then kind of doing these main titles and then some offshoots. I have done something similar with my Exploring Our National Parks series, which is kind of like compendiums of parks that I've visited, and then I'm kind of breaking out a few of the parks into standalone releases in both ebook version and audiobook version, just to have another thing getting indexed on search and the platforms. There's a lot of competition in that space. I wouldn't recommend people do content on national parks because there's such a established hierarchy of work related to that. But at the same time, I love visiting them and writing about them and photographing them. And, I'm working on a video series to accompany Volume 3, which came out last year. So these are additional ways of kind of like stretching that material out, that media, and getting additional releases out of it too. So, those are all things to promote around and to discuss. It sounds like you're doing consultation and kind of workshops, classes, and stuff like that. There might be ways of creating video courses, or maybe you've already done that, so you are on it, I would say.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is a casual space. This is really just a hangout. Obviously I'm glad you found it, because we're always looking for new blood to come in and talk about their work. Have you done any fiction or strictly nonfiction material so far?
No. Again, this is new to me. I mean, to be clear, this is like, Danielle career 3.0. My first career was being an attorney. And then after having 4 kids in 8 years, I was like, okay, I can't exactly go to court and balance and I really wanted to be a mom, and I didn't financially need to work. And my husband at the time was like, stay home. So I did. And then when I came back out, when my daughter was about 1, kid number 4, somebody hired me for commercial real estate. That was never in the plan. It's one of the reasons I started the podcast, Unscripted Pivots, because what we set out to do and what we actually do are usually 2 different things. Not just school wise, just think about our lives, right? I mean, that John Lennon saying, life is what happens while we're busy making other plans. And so did that for like 25 years. So it was only a year ago. And I still do commercial real estate, but I work out of New York. I do not work in California. The rules here are like just so crazy, and they're restrictive. And I have no interest in working in the state that I love. Listen, I live in Newport Beach. If you check it out on the map, this is a pretty sweet area to be hanging. I mean, it's sunny and 70 every day, and I'm, surrounded by mountains and water, and it's just a coastal life. I mean, it's really pretty spectacular. But, um, so I love living here, but working here and doing stuff like that, there's a lot of restrictions, especially in the commercial real estate space. But yeah, I don't know. No, I have not written fiction. The book that I'm doing now is the first book is me, and it'll probably really capture the attention more of women because of its title. But the second book is like more of a business book, but it's done in a fictional way. So the book is being written where I'm like telling a story. So none of it actually occurred, but I'm telling it like it occurred. Do you know what I mean? But what I'm introducing within the body of this book is my business framework for pivoting. Because when you look at businesses across the board, especially because AI, everybody's upended, right? I think so many things are changing right now. Everybody's having a WTF moment. I mean, like across the board. So I'm putting out this book to say, hey, this is how you can handle that. This is how I help my clients. So this is being done in a fictional way, but it's a business book. And so
Well, you have a
WTF has,
narrative that you're spinning into it. And I
oh
think the
yeah,
storytelling part is what you're getting
exactly.
after.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm telling a story. So it's like the book is written like somebody was speaking to me that, I just happened to encounter. And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, let me tell you about my other client. So it has a coaching tone to it because it also is being put out to lend credibility around me coaching. And so I'll go into a fictional story. Oh, this is what happened with my coach, Amanda. So I'm telling a story to another prospect. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm introducing my coaching framework, which, well, it's called WTF Coaching Framework. The book's not called that, but now I introduce Pivot. And I'm all about acronyms. I'm just an acronym nerd. I mean, that comes back from law school. That's how I studied. Everything's a freaking...
Hate them. Honestly, can't stand them.
Yeah, no, but I like you say something to me and I'm putting an acronym to it. I don't know why, like people, it's just, it's
Use
the
your
way
words.
the brain works.
Use your words.
Well, but okay, but but look at what WTF, right, has started. So I don't know if that's technically an acronym, right? I mean, well, it stands for what the fuck, but I'm using it to mean so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
And pivot, which is what my book is really about, is about pivots. I'm using that as a framework for businesses to approach their disruptive moment. So, I don't know if it's not like I'm trying to hide behind words. I'm trying to give a insightful, clever way to look at something a different way than you looked at it before. And in this life, Michael, my experience has been that it's not so much about, continuing to learn, but it's also unlearning. Right. And when I coach my clients, I'm like, we're going to unlearn what fear means. We're going to unlearn what failure means. All these big F words that are like larger than life and feelings that stand in our way. They are not what we were taught or what we think they are, or how we've experienced them. They're very, very different. So it's a whole mindset shift, right? So we can get closer to our successes.
Absolutely. Puppy came back up. Are you live again? Do we have you?
I think so. I was sorry I was kicked out. I just wanted to say I'm mostly working. I wanted to say hi to Danielle. I retired a year ago from a 42-year law career, if you count my 4 years working and going to evening school, which I certainly do. So it's just really, I'm in this really interesting phase. And then I want to brag. I mean, I mostly just came because I love Michael's voice. It's like easy listening. No, I'm just kidding. But I came to report back and be grateful on what's changed recently for me in my little production, whatever mode I'm in. But I didn't want to interrupt, but just to say, hey, from one JD to another, also a mom to another. Don't know if you're a grandma yet or if you got puppies around, but and yeah, just like good for you. And it's, I'm starting a bunch of new stuff. I'm writing songs. I mean, I'm basically getting into the super fun part of my life. And a lot of it's about releasing fear. And I'm doing so much. Michael, I wanted to report one tip. And thank you for cutting me off when I started talking. That's the ADHD. I was like, I wanted to go, Michael, I wanted to get back to you on thumbs up or thumbs down. I get very literal sometimes. Yeah. You know what I mean? But basically calming my neurology, I am reclaiming the space where this home where we raised a family. And I'm not the kind of mom that's like, I put all your S blank blank T in the garage. You got 30 days to pick it up. I'm like curating scribbled drawings that they could care less about. So it's a lot of me problem, rather than, oh, my kids scraps all over the house. It's like, well, yeah, okay.
You saved it.
I did. And I want to honor that. And I will just tell you. So the whole house now is set up, in service of what Ricky, not to blaspheme, calls the muse. And I want to free my energy up, make my health, my everything. I've just been working and working. I've been doing different mindfulness things and unlearning, of course. And one thing I think about is those rigid I don't know for you, Danielle, but when you go to law school, I guess one of my early survival skills was words. Blah, 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 blah. Well, that's great, but sometimes that's not what you need to fight with anymore, and I realized, if I'm pushing myself against something, I'm just currently giving myself a "you're never in trouble" card. And this is speaking as a boomer raised in parochial schools where, let's just say, things could be a bit harsh. So in other words, I feel like I'm healing, shedding whatever I did and whatever happened. And it's, if I want to look back there for insight, good. But I'm going in a forward direction, and it's just really fun. So anyway, Michael, I wanted to tell you, so just literally organizing, I'm finding scraps of notes from writer's blocks a year ago. I'm just consolidating, and I'm setting up an area where I can write.
You don't have a writer's block
I've got, Michael, I've got like 4 different
folder yet?
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's the way it's looked. And I'm starting to just gently track my time, because one of the things I have is like this self-erasing whiteboard of a mind. So I'll think, what did you do yesterday? Even if literally yesterday I took my 92-year-old mom to a doctor visit. It's like I don't recall. And I think that's all that stressed out pace. So I'm breathing, slowing way down, and figuring if there's a barrier. Oh, just to be kind of interested in that. Well, yeah, I've been saying I want to do, well, what else have I been doing? And so I'm literally just, lit a fire under me. I've also had more family move home because my kiddo's getting married in October, and that's giving me impetus
Nice.
too. It's going to be a real, and so I've got two big, those yellow poster papers with sticky on the top. I want to get better stuff, but in my dining room now, it's like wedding planning central. And just this morning, I was hanging up some drawings, and we're both very visual. So we're doing, write things on Post-its and put them on the board, and then write lists. So this is the biggest project I would say right now, is setting a timeline, Michael, for you're so good at this. We've got the wedding date, backing up the production, and I want just, my kid's an artist, and so is their partner. And so it's like, wow, this is a really great life project. But then in terms of time management, I've started to baby steps to use the phone thing that tells you how much time and then just disciplining. I'm going to be disciplining my time much more so that I can do what I want. And I'm also just literally physically clearing out spaces. And all of a sudden I have no allegiance to the couch and chair. I just sort of thought they always had to be there. Anyway, that's a lot, but cleaning house, spring cleaning, and it's wonderful. So thanks.
Absolutely critical. I think particularly for you, so you are making the progress that you desire to make, you have to develop a regimen of organization that you are adhering to faithfully. And, as I'm pretty sure I said yesterday in the writer's block space, when I'm working digitally, I'm organizing at the point of creation. I don't wait to organize later, because that does not happen. And also it takes more effort to do later than to set up your folders and catalog everything as you go. When you're trying to cycle through after the fact, you're less particular about all that stuff. And, when it comes, to apply it here with books and audiobooks or videos, any type of writing, really, if you're trying to release a product from that, you kind of have to, for me, focus on a deadline and work your way back from that, saying like, this is when I need to have the upload ready for pre-order if it's an ebook. This is when I need to get the files in for the audiobook so it goes through approval within the time span they require, so I can hit my deadline for that. This is when I need to have my cover elements together so that I have enough time to do the design and make sure that all that's complete. This is when I need beta readers to be on this stuff. This is when I need to be performing the read for the audiobook, and this is when the manuscript needs to be in a final draft state. Or this is when I need to have my first draft, second draft ready to go to beta readers. Or this is how many, and Ricky's particularly good with this, this is how many words I need to write every day, week, month to hit, the word count that I desire to hit for this project. And like all of those things, once you chunk them and you compartmentalize all those tasks, I've put out, I think like a dozen audiobooks at this point. So when you have all of those processes sequenced, it makes it a lot easier to do the next one because you already kind of have like a groove about it and you understand, how long it takes for you to do the work and to get through all of it. So that, that's just my perspective on it. Other people might do it completely different. I don't stress myself about being perceived as an artist. I do writing, I make music, I create short films or documentaries or whatever. These are all just expression, these are media that I like to make. And hopefully there's messages in there that people identify with. That is cool, but that's not like foundational for my process of exploring photography or generative AI or my writing or melodies and harmony, and thinking about nonlinear editing and all the ways that in terms of process that it is applicable for editorial or layout of a book or audio editing or video editing or XYZ. All of these things, I just look at these skill sets as kind of interchangeable for being creative and not necessarily about being an artiste. These are maybe distinguishing aspects. I've never been a visual artist. I do make visual things, but I'm not trying to compete in that realm. I think there's really good visual artists and I'm fine just watching. Puppy, do you keep falling down or what's going on here? Keep losing you. Danielle, you got your hand raised. What are you thinking?
Well, first, I wanted to say, Puppy is now my bestie because there's so much about what she shared that resonates with me. Technically, I'm a baby boomer, but I fight that because I'm only a couple months away from, having been a Gen Xer, right? I was born in August of 64 and my husband's April 65. And I'm like, no, I'm in your generation, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But when you said, listen, I'm proud to be 60. You know what? I'm not boasting. I look pretty damn good for my age. I live a very wholesome life. I do. I like the 6-year-old version. When I turned 60 in August, I was like, hey, bring it, man. I mean, 50s was hard. And I remember turning 50 and the number didn't bother me, but what I was doing, the choices I was making didn't resonate with who I wanted to be. So I'll take 60 any day of the week. I am grounded. I am really vibrant. I am unstoppable. So I'm cool with it. But, when she said parochial school, I was like laughing. I'm like, oh, here comes Sister Mary Edward. I mean, I was raised by the nuns and the priests all the way through college, to tell you the truth. And I also have a 92-year-old parent, and I also have a child that's getting married in the very near future, well, April. So it's not this April, next April, but my first one out of the gate. But no, I'm not a grandmother yet. I have 4 kids, but only one is I shouldn't say only one's in a serious relationship. Yet my other son has a boyfriend, but they're not mature by any stretch of the imagination. It's not how they're living their life. So I don't foresee them getting married and having kids. They're just hanging. So I don't know, but I'd probably be a grandma in a couple of years. That's okay. I'm busy right now giving birth to all these projects. Okay. I don't want any babies distracting me because I would love them. And the truth is they don't live in the state that I live in. Right. And then I would feel compelled to move just because for my own selfish reasons. But this is so great. Michael, I want to ask you, how revenue generating now, when I wrote this book, and I'm going to price it really low. I want it to just go. I want to use it as a business tool. I don't want anybody thinking twice about it. You earn through the book, not on the book. When you're doing the Audible, how revenue generating is this, putting that out there? I'd love to hear your experiences. Yeah.
Well, you're doing it solo, right? So, I don't know what your expectations are, but if you're doing it on your own and you are having costs affiliated with that, retail sales are like the second best, right? The best are when libraries buy them because you can charge more. they'll pay a higher fee. Now there are other platforms where it's kind of like pool pricing, or libraries that do pay per use, which is, here and there. So though, what I'll say is that the pay per use is going to manufacture runs for you, like retail, that's a one by one, whereas pay per use, a library, depending on, what services they offer, they're going to pay for it every single time one of their customers takes it out of their library. So, again, my stuff is shorter, so it's priced lower. There are pricing ranges for audiobooks according to runtime, and that, Audible does not allow you to set your pricing if you're going directly through their platform. I'm happy to talk more about the specifics on this stuff with you, like one-on-one, if that's what you're interested in. I also do consultation for media and, book creation and the rest. There's a lot of like nitty gritty to get into in terms of, what is out there. I will say this, you will probably make, this depends on design, this depends on your costs and everything, you will probably make more per book off of your paperback releases, potentially your ebook releases, than you might off of your audiobook releases. However, that said, I sell audiobooks 2-to-1. So you see how it kind of like, there's like some balancing there. Additionally, I don't have overhead costs. Again, like I'm not going to a studio, I'm manufacturing it myself. So my costs for design and production are nothing. If you are doing, if you're doing all the, let's just use super round figures, right? Let's say you do your audiobook and it costs you $1,000 to go record, right? And maybe you have another $100 of design or something, I don't know. Again, we're just spitballing here. Then you're looking at saying like, maybe you're able, and this is not reality. Let's say you're making $2 off of each audiobook, right? So for the $1,100 of investment, you're going to be looking at, what's that break down to? Like 50, gosh, I'm an idiot now. 520 books or something that you'd have to sell. 520 books is well above like the average that a book sells. That's kind of like getting into, like the average book sells, like 100 to 150 copies. So, and that's, 550. Yeah. Doing my math wrong. So, if you are breaking it down like that, how fast do you need to sell those books? If you were selling one a day, it's going to take you 1.5 years. So if you are packaging them with your courses or something, maybe there's some way of additionally doing that. I know a lot of people that do speaking engagements where they will require that X number of copies of their book are purchased. They have to buy 2 boxes of books in addition to the speaking fee. And that is a very regular thing for people that are doing kind of like the speaker circuit.
Yeah, that's exactly the direction that I'm going.
Yeah.
Not that I have that mastered with a plan per se, but again, I didn't anticipate making money on the books.
Mm-hmm.
Do you write fiction? I mean, my books are really a business tool.
I do fiction and nonfiction. I also have some like marketing books that are business oriented. One is for personal branding and the other is for content development in service of small businesses. You might be interested in them.
Sounds like it.
Poppy, you got your hand raised.
What I'll say, Danielle, okay, yeah, I want to be your new best friend. I'm so excited for you. I'm a decade older than you, and I, you know about law. And the last position I held about killed me, literally. At one point, my doctor said, "Let me ask you something." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Is this job worth your life?" And that got my attention. But so I gave myself the year and a half, and Michael, forgive my scatteredness, but you and Heidi and Stephanie and all the group of creators, I just found all of you like not that far into all of that. There was just a lot of trauma, a lot of bad stuff that happened, and just a career of that. I realized I had to really ratchet down, and I had a lot going on in my family, but I forgive myself now because I can see now I just want to be grounded and be grateful. And Michael, I was just literally going through some of the notes I'd written in past writer's blocks with my technical questions for you. I want to avoid asking irritating questions repeatedly.
Well, if we haven't asked it in a while, then it might get a new answer.
Exactly. But I what I'm saying is that's a habit pattern that I'm working on breaking. And if Danielle's familiar with, and every religion, has their good parts, has their harsh parts. And with the generation of you're 10 years younger, so you were post Vatican II, Danielle. I don't know if it was different in the schools then, but mine was original brand, of like, through my fault, through my most great. There was just a lot of internalized stuff as a little kid. And just the way my family played out, I'm noticing that I'm really ready to shed being critical of myself, but instead listened, just settle down and go, okay, what's the block? And I'm just finding if I'm head in the direction of what I want, I get excited. So I'm dealing with, I'm learned kind of late in life, this diagnosis that I fought, but ADHD. So it's like, how do I manage that? And I think, Michael, the organization stuff I figured out how to do that and have a law career where there's, 1-day deadlines, 3-day, 7. I mean, the practice I had, that we were just hopping all the time, but I had an infrastructure and support at my office or at the places where I work. And so it's like, oh, how do I create that for me? And part of it is, like I've got all my notes from the tech stuff you said. I can listen again to this. It's like there are people out there who know. So, for example, I want to record and edit my music. So it's like, oh, that's just a project. Step one now is literally, again, clearing the space. And again, that's with kids and whatever moving in and out of my house. So maybe that means having boundaries, but definitely having space and designated areas, kind of. Not that you can't create everywhere, but like I've picked a corner room where I can go in there and close both doors and put a sign, right? Do not disturb. And then myself planning, because I really need my solitude too. And so, yeah, having that balance, um, and discipline, Michael, you really embody that. I don't know if you were always built that way or, if you're good at that, but those structural challenges, dates, time, math, I had other people taking care of that while I was doing other things. So it's just kind of, I'm thinking about how, the infrastructure of my life, the friendships, the class, what do I have in there that's supporting what I want to do going forward? And it's a real shift when you're changing career. I mean, call this projects. And another problem is disciplining myself because I've always been like this since a kid. I'm interested in absolutely everything. Well, you can't actually do everything, let alone all at once. And the other thing I wanted to say was, Ricky, I'm just so sorry you've had that flu, because there's a lot of influenza. Well, there's A and B going around, and it's really knocking people for a loop. So, please, if you want, I can get more information on that. I have friends that are like super into those details, but it's very alarming what's going on. So I'm really glad that you made it because, yeah, the cardiovascular effects, it's just, a new era and we're
Damaging,
learning.
Are you taking the zinc is the question that needs to be considered.
But what we're going to be entering a new realm over the next 10 to 15 years where we understand, oh crap, when I'm exhaling something, somebody else is inhaling it. And we're going to be cleaning up our buildings. The wealthy people already have it. There's a tagline, Davos safe. But what we're going to have someday is far UV technology, which is amazing. And I'm not talking, clean hospital room, negative pressure, but it's just.
We're getting a little bit off of the topic here. We are going into the wrap up round here, my love. We're going to be calling it on the hour. We do this every 2 weeks, 1 hour. That's where the sweet spot is. Ricky, you got your hand raised. What are you thinking about? Do you have any final parting thoughts for us? Any responses?
Well, I want to thank you, Michael, for, pardon me, having this space. Always very entertaining. I missed it.
We missed you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Puppy, for your kind words and your foresight. Bear in mind, I'm not a healthy person. I have a couple issues with all of that. I have a heart defect, defibrillator implant. I'm too big. PTSD, stress makes me. My appetite is crazy. I overeat, but what helps me, what relieves me, inspires me is the nature of my creative obsession. And you were talking to Michael before about his discipline, and he is disciplined. And I would say beyond that, there's a sort of creative obsession he has in order to put the output that he has. And I feel that obsession is disorderly when you're not doing right, when you're not focused, and it's unexamined, But if you're creating art and expressing yourself, there's really no harm there. I just gotta cut it out with the bad eating and whatnot. But all my dreams, they're ticking by. They're coming true bit by bit. And for every deadline, for every goal, for every calendrical or temporal event that we celebrate, the overall nature of the timelessness, the thing that we're ultimately reaching for. I want to be known as this. I want to be known as that. I want my art to inspire and drive people and make a big splash. Every one of us have dreams, and that's the thing I focus on. I don't focus on the steps. I focus on the horizon. So I think if we all take a little, I'm not saying all the time, but if we take a piece of that, it helps us along a little bit. So thank you for letting me speak, Michael, and I'm hoping I'll be here next week too,
Yeah, very good. We are also hoping that you are back in the writer's block, because we appreciate your insight. Speaking of which, Tuesday on the writer's block will be a workshop. Danielle, you might want to come and hang out. There's lots of great folks in and out of there, such as Puppy and Ricky, on a weekly basis. It's a revolving cast of characters, but we're always looking, as I said, for new blood.
What time is that, and what time zone?
Yeah, 9 a.m. your time zone in the Pacific Standard Time, 9 a.m. So if you follow me, you'll see the schedule go up tomorrow evening. It'll go up after Heidi and I kind of work out our outline session for it. So as it is, we are approaching the end of today's session. I do want to remind you, this month of March is Grand Sumo Tournament time. The dates for that are March 9th to the 23rd. I'll be watching. catch the daily action for 15 days straight on NHK World. You can check that out on Roku or the web. Some locations even have it broadcast on subchannels if you are so blessed. We've got a brand new Yokozuna has been anointed. So he's going to be taking the helm of things. Ricky, final thought here before we shut her down.
Yes, just real quick. Tomorrow, I'm having the space around 3 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know if that translates to Danielle's schedule, but, Danielle, you're invited. Puppy, you're invited. And Michael, if I could see you there. If you're busy, I understand you're a very busy man, but you're always welcome to show up for Tom and I's show. And I'm going to take my leave of you all. So have a wonderful day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll probably see you tomorrow with the Tom program. As it is for today, I appreciate you guys hanging out and chatting, and we will talk again before too long.